Welcome back to Partnerships Unraveled, the podcast where we unravel the mysteries about channel and partnerships on a weekly basis. My name is Efe, and I'm excited to announce our special guest, Andrew Down. How are you doing, Andrew?
I'm doing great, Efe. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. Andrew, for those who may not know who you are, could you introduce yourself? Who are you? What do you do? Why should people listen to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Andrew Down. Currently, I'm the director of sales for the IT channel at Vendasta, a Canadian cloud marketplace software company. And I've been in the IT space for about 15 years now. Have an education, a commerce degree, got right into tech sales, and I've worn many hats, including being an MSP owner and head of sales for over 6 years. So I like to think I have a good understanding of distribution, the channel marketing, manufacturers, and the MSP ecosystem.
Now, I'm so excited for this episode because we met each other a while ago. I think it was last year, and
Yeah,
I've been
yeah.
thinking about this. So I think it's going to be an interesting conversation. So I think you're also exceptionally knowledge, and you focus especially on the MSP channel, the MSP partners, and you also have a strong opinion about MSPs, and that is that they suck at marketing, which I think everyone would agree, because MSPs are typically traditionally they are made up of more tech oriented people, but I think when it comes to sales and especially marketing, they really have no idea how to do it. They don't know what they're doing. So, but I think that we can all agree that it's important for MSPs to start investing in marketing. So why would you say that that's an important point to be discussing?
Yeah, most MSPs when they start, I'm a sales and marketing person myself. I could not start an MSP. I don't know how to do the technical work. So most MSPs out of the gate, one or two people, they tend to be technical in nature. And when I joined my last MSP, there was three founders, all technical. And they were struggling with sales and marketing. They could do the work, they could solve a lot of business problems, but they didn't know how to position, how to find customers, navigate distribution, and all those sorts of things. And I just think it's something that isn't necessarily a strength, and that's okay. But the one thing that MSPs have is they solve so many problems for businesses, and it's just a matter of getting out there and meeting people, finding that first customer, getting referrals, being known in your local space, and really focusing on marketing, and marketing your brand, marketing your business. But definitely something, and I mean, it's not my opinion. I think it's many's. But MSPs do tend to suck at marketing, and like I said, I just think it isn't their natural kind of what they're good at, what they're used to. And those that get it, those that lean into it, or maybe even outsource it. Right? There's lots of industry experts that will help with marketing. As you grow, you can hire on the sales and marketing side. Those that do that tend to see that larger growth, and get to 1 million and 5 million and 10 million in sales. It really starts with marketing ultimately drives leads, which converts to sales. And there's a few dials and knobs you can turn to attract better leads and convert higher percentages of leads into closes, which just ramps up sales. But it really starts at that top of funnel and the marketing kind of ecosystem. So it's very important for MSPs and all businesses for that matter to focus on marketing.
Yeah, I think MSPs, I think channel partners in general, a lot of their business, they do it via personal relationships. So I always think that like if they had that marketing support, imagine how much faster they would grow. Now, when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to, I think, enabling these partners in, helping them market and generate demand. So a lot of vendors, they assume that if they provide content to partners, they will use it. Now, we both know that it's not that simple, and they don't necessarily use that content that are provided by the vendors. Now, especially if the partner is small, they don't have a marketing team, they work with many different vendors, so it becomes really hard to be updated in all the content and all the marketing campaigns. I
Mm-hmm.
think so. I recently hosted Catherine Rose, founder of Channel Marketing Association,
She's
and
great.
yeah, she's great. It was a great episode. And then she shared that I think less than 15% of partners engage in marketing programs that their vendors deliver. Now, I think what I want to ask you here is that, like within the ecosystem, whose responsibility is it to drive leads in the ecosystem. Like it's like what I want to say is that it's probably everyone's responsibility. It's partially vendors, partners. How do you think it all comes together?
Hmm. Yeah, great question, and I agree with you. It's everyone. It's the vendor, the manufacturer, it's the MSP. The problem I find is I think most companies focus on their objectives and don't think of the end state. And I believe that good marketing is marketing that's seen by people. So I like to think of it as the SMB experience first. The entire goal of a blog, a social post, a thought leadership article, whatever you're doing to promote your brand, it's only as good as the people that are seeing it. You can have the best blog, the best social posts, the best billboard, but if it's on a road that no one drives by, it doesn't really matter, right? And I liken it to if you have a store in a mall, but it's in the basement at the end of the hallway beside a bunch of closed stores, no one's going to go to you, right? So you spend all this money for your location, and no one comes. And I think that's what happens with a lot of marketing content. Manufacturers make beautiful white papers, and you put your logo on it, you send it out to your clients, but if it doesn't reach them, because it's hard, it takes time and effort to distribute that content, why write it, right? Like you now have this amazing thought leadership piece that no one sees. And I think the other piece too that's really important to tie in is some MSPs will share something for the sake of sharing it. And that can almost be as bad because it doesn't tie into their why, to their business. And if you don't have a strong digital foundation, reviews and social posts and a LinkedIn page and a decent website, you can drive traffic to competitors, right? Because when people start to search for a problem or a product or a solution, if you're not coming up on Google, if you don't have a website, if you're not active on social media, they'll often go to the next company, the next person, right? So, and I mean, we'll get into it and talk a little bit more, I'm sure, about some of the digital foundations that we do, but things like SEO and coming up on Google Map Packs and looking like a real business are so important. So it's getting your foundations first, being reputable, being findable, being trustworthy. And then it's about distributing the content to your end customers. And like I said, the value of content is only if it's seen. And I think it's important for vendors to remember that as well. Just because you're creating the content, how can you help your MSPs distribute it, right? And as MSPs, just because you're getting all this amazing content from your vendors, as a thank you for all the great sales you're providing, how do you make sure that your customers see it? And marketing, the whole goal of good marketing is it fuels more sales, and it's this beautiful circle. Good marketing results in more sales, which results in an increased investment in marketing. But it really starts with that, eyes on the content. If people aren't seeing it, it doesn't really matter how good the piece is.
Yeah, I'm going to get back to all the great things that you're doing at Vendasta and how you're helping the partners, be foundable, be ranked on the on Google search and things like that. But there's a topic that I want to tackle first. So
Sure.
at Chanex, from our partners, we often hear that they really don't want to publish vendor content or vendor marketing campaigns that is really product oriented. So, for example, campaign that talks about the specs of a product, because I think at the end of the day, also their end users, also SMBs, they do not really understand and care about the technicalities of the product,
Mm-hmm.
and that's also kind of the reason why they get help from an MSP or a channel partner. So I think at the end of the day, what the SMB end users want is that they want to understand how their problem is going to be solved. So, like from our experience, we have seen that solution-based campaigns, solution-based content that are provided to partners or pushed through partners, they perform much better in terms of both partner and end user engagement than product-based content. Now, you work with a lot of MSPs. Would you account for this?
I would 1,000% agree with that. I talk about this a lot. Well, when we're having our meetings at the enterprise level with manufacturers, or when we're meeting and consulting with MSPs in local markets, no end customer. If you think of a doctor, a lawyer, a hair salon, a retail customer, whoever you're serving as an MSP, they are not going to Google, where can I buy a Lenovo X1 Carbon Gen 3 with 16 gigabytes of RAM and a 512 solid state hard drive? Like, they aren't looking for products, right? They're not looking even maybe for brands. They're going to say, I need a new laptop, right? Or, how can I do this on my computer? And, I think a lot of brands, especially at the manufacturer side, focus on the products, Cisco Meraki MX270. No business outside of your MSP customer is going to Google that. No one is searching for a specific product. And if they are, they know what they want, and you might not be a good fit for an MSP anyway. They're just looking for the cheapest solution to order online, right? And I think MSPs, the real focus, as you touched on, that solution-based content. It's thought leadership, credibility. How are you solving business problems, and how can you help your customers, right? And that comes with referrals and testimonials and sharing examples of work you've done. And we do a lot of work with the manufacturers, and we try to pull them away from products and into solutions. At the end of the day, if you're funding and you're providing marketing to MSPs, you have to have a belief that there's a two-way relationship. If you help an MSP get a customer, it means they're going to sell more of your stuff, right? And so you don't, just because you aren't promoting a product or your exact brand, helping an MSP drive sales will in turn help you as a vendor, as a manufacturer. And that's where we genuinely see this as a relationship. And my old MSP, we really focused on three brands. We had a security vendor, we had a hardware vendor, and we sold Microsoft. And that's all we did. If you wanted options of laptops or firewalls or whatever the product was, we weren't the place for you. But we had very, very strong relationships and trust built with a couple key vendors that would share with us all sorts of marketing content and money, right, through MDF and different initiatives, where they would trust us. They knew if we won the deal, we were going to sell their brand. And I really encourage MSPs to get close to your vendors. Don't just think of them, don't think of them as a vendor, right? They are a partner. But get close to them and get to know your sales reps and the teams there, and help each other, because through the channel, the manufacturers only succeed with the MSP selling the product, right? And the more of that solution-based content and thought leadership you can get, the more they'll sell, which is good for everyone in the channel. So I very much agree with you and the team at Chanex on that. And it's something that I think all of us could be better at. Stop pushing your thing and help the end customers learn, right? And in turn, that will lead to those sales.
Yeah, I fully agree. Especially, I think in the SMB segment, that educating the customer, I think, becomes much more important. Especially when it comes to the philosophy of marketing. I think it should be all oriented towards making them aware, showing them how the solution could really help their specific business problem. Now, Andrew, you in our last chat, you said that MSPs are the most important outsourced partner, which, I thought about this after a chat, and I think I agree, because I think, nowadays, the foundation of every business is IT. Now the MSP space is also expected to grow faster than the rest of the channel in 2024. So Canalys, shout out to Jay McBain, they made 10 predictions for the MSP space in 2024. And they predict that new customer acquisition will be among the top 3 challenges for MSPs. I would say that this probably applies to other types of channel partners as well. But do you share this view? And also, that's the first question. And also, could you tell us about, the great things that you're doing at Vendasta to, help those MSPs overcome that challenge and help them, acquire customers more easily?
Yeah, the lead generation, the new customer acquisition of new customers is definitely top of mind, and we hear it on both sides of the channel. Vendors are looking for ways to acquire new resellers and MSP partners, and the MSPs are looking for ways to acquire new SMB and end customers, right? So we hear that in all of our conversations through the channel. For us at Vendasta, we like to boil it down. I touched on it earlier, but we really start with a digital marketing needs assessment. So we run a proprietary tool, our snapshot report, and it's basically a report card. How are you doing compared to your competitors and industry leaders on things like your website, social media, reputation, listings, ads, and SEO? So we benchmark you. And then what we'll do is we'll make recommendations to either invest where you need to improve. So if you're not coming up with organic SEO or paid ads, that might be a focus point to invest, right? Whether it's vendor funded or your own marketing budget. Or double down where you're winning. If something's working really well, if you have a great reputation and a ton of reviews, get more, right? Google likes that. So you're going to come up higher on search rankings when you have, higher rankings, more reviews. You're responding to reviews, right? So we really look at the whole digital customer journey and make sure that we can help you. The final thing, and Vendasta is a large company. We have about 700 employees globally. A lot of that is sales, but then we have two really big departments. One is our developer team. We have over 200 developers, so we're always coming up with new technology. And we have a fulfillment team, a marketing services team, who are actually like an outsourced agency who write content and build blogs and LinkedIn pages and whatnot for MSPs and other channel partners. But the developer team, one of the cool things we've come out with recently is an AI lead capture tool that goes on your website. Because one of the really interesting things we find is people go to your website, but there's no strong call to action, no conversion. So they check you out, but then they don't really know where to go. And most people don't want to pick up the phone anymore. They don't want to really call you. They want to chat or maybe send a text or an email. But this new chat widget that we have, which will scrape your website, knows all the information. It's conversational. It is not just a glorified form fill like so many chatbots where you ask a question and all it wants is, what's your first name? What's your last name? You might as well just have a form fill on your website, right? It's not a real AI experience. Ours will answer questions. It will, you can scrape vendor pages. You can have content. We have a lot of manufacturers who are leveraging it to build like knowledge bases for their MSP customers. It'll answer what's on your Google business profile and your Facebook profiles and all these different things. And what it leads to is an actual lead capture with content and questions that the customers ask that the MSP can then follow up with. And we find this so powerful. It identifies two things. One, the problem of many MSPs are small and they're on site. They're helping customers. They're installing new infrastructure, setting up computers. They're not able to answer their phone. Right. So having this on the website instead of a call to action of call me when you're going to miss the call anyway and they're going to move on to the next provider is great. The other thing it does is it identifies another thing where you have this AI lead capture. It's a great tool. No one's chatting with it. Well, it's probably because no one's coming to your website. So why don't we look at that part of the story? And are you using SEO and ads and driving people to your pages? Because there's kind of these two problems, right? I mentioned before the store that's in, the basement of the mall that no one goes to. That's one problem. No one knows where your site is. And then the other one is once they're there, what's your call to action? And I think having both sides of the equation solved, driving traffic, driving awareness, and having a strong call to action and a reason for a potential customer or prospect to engage with you is so critical today.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you for sharing that. And to everyone who's listening who wants to learn more about Vendasta or who wants to connect with Andrew and talk about MSPs, I'll make sure to leave Andrew's LinkedIn in the description. So go reach out to him. There's one last topic that I want to discuss because in our last conversation, you shared something that's interesting. You shared that you are seeing a trend of convergence in the channel. So we have been seeing, print and telco companies buying MSPs, and you shared that now you're starting to see that convergence happen in the MarTech world. Could you share your thoughts on this trend and also the implications it will bring to the MSP world?
Yeah, we're seeing it lots here in North America, and I think globally, where you alluded to print companies and telcos acquiring MSPs. We had Konica Minolta, Ricoh buy local and regional MSPs up in Canada. And what we've seen in our space now, because we work with so many agencies, marketing agencies, is we're starting to see MSPs and agencies merge and be acquired. We've had some regional ones where the local MSP has bought a local agency. And even unofficially, there's these local partnerships that are starting to form. And I think it all comes from the lens of helping the end customer, helping the MS or the SMB, sorry. So I really think of it as you want to make it simple for the SMB customer. And in my mind, there's no one that an end customer trusts more than their MSP. You know their passwords, you have their login information, you're running their backups, and you are the most trusted advisor. And Canalys and others have released studies that 67% of SMBs want one trusted advisor. And I believe the time is now that the MSP can be that holistic trusted advisor. The last thing I'll kind of say is we talk a lot about, is the internet IT, is website IT? And I like to look at it again from that customer lens. I think to a doctor, to a lawyer, to a retail store, to a florist, the internet is IT. The old joke used to be if it plugs into the wall, it's IT. And I think now if it's online, it's IT. And those customers want to be helped by their MSP with their website, with their SEO, with their social media. And that's something that we work with our MSP channel partners on, is to allow them to not only use and consume the products and services for their own business, but sell them through, create a new revenue stream to their already existing customers, offering some of these MarTech and ad tech products and services.
Yeah, that's very interesting, because I recently shared another podcast with you, and they were talking, I don't know if you had the time to listen to it, but they were talking about how, especially in the SMB segment, we are moving to 100% MSP, 100% managed services. So I think that also, as you mentioned, more SMBs are now looking at a single trusted advisor. So everything that's IT related, so for a doctor, everything that's not taking care of a patient, then they will get that MSP to do it for them. I fully agree with that. Well, thank you so much, Andrew. Before I let you go, I have a final question. We're a channel podcast, and we always like to ask our guests for referral. Who do you think we should have on next on the podcast? Who do you think would be a great guest?
Oh man, how many do you want? Where do you want me to? I love the channel. I love relationships and networking. I mean, we've met through some mutual contacts. You've had some great guests. This episode aside, there's some really, really good content and people out there. Michelle Ragusa McBain with SonicWall would love to hear on the podcast. Juan Fernandez with superops.io. Or Matt Solomon at Channel Program. Would love to make an introduction and see if we can get one of those people on the podcast in the near future.
Thank you so much. Well, Michelle, Matt, and Juan, if you're listening to us, I'll be coming to get you.